People don't remember your words. They remember the storm you leave inside them. Here's the hook, short and sharp. Give them one powerful feeling and they'll never forget you. That's what we're doing today. If you're ready to stop being background noise and start being the moment they replay at midnight, press the like button and subscribe right now, because this is the one shift most people never learn. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room like a quiet lighthouse. You don't wave your arms. You don't tell your whole story. You just stand there, steady, calm, lit from within. Ships turn without a horn being blown. My friends, that's the power we're building. Not the loud sparkler that dies in seconds, but the bonfire that people gather around because it warms them without trying. Let's break a few lies today. You were told to be nice, to over-explain, to text paragraphs, to fix moods, to prove your worth with constant attention. But effort without weight gets ignored. Being available is not the same as being valuable. You don't create attraction by giving everything. You create it by carrying something. Mystery, conviction, stillness, the feeling of gravity. It's like music. The notes matter, but the pauses make the song. Another picture. Think of yourself as a rare book in a world of free brochures. A brochure gets skimmed and tossed. A rare book gets held with care, opened slowly, and remembered. That's you, when you pace the reveal, when you speak less and mean more, when you value your presence enough to let others earn it. Not a game, a standard. And I'll keep it real with you, with a little smile. Yes, you can be warm and still not be a human vending machine. You can laugh at a joke you actually find funny. You can reply without jumping like a doorbell dog. It's okay to be human and still have a spine. Fun is allowed, neediness is not. Don't be a 24/7 live stream, be a premiere. Quote time again, silence is one of the great arts of conversation. Not mine, Cicero's. Easy words, heavy truth. Your calm is not emptiness, it's signal. Your boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with keys. When someone earns access, the feeling hits 10 times harder. That's what people remember, how your energy changed the room, how your eyes told the truth without a speech, how your pace made their heart lean forward. Here's the part most folks miss. Certainty is comfortable, but comfort kills desire. If they can predict every move, the story ends on page 2. You're not trying to confuse anyone, you're letting the story breathe. You're not avoiding connection, you're raising its price to match its value. And yes, it's harder than overgiving. But easy paths make soft people. Strong presence asks more of you. Discipline, patience, and the courage to be quiet when noise would be cheaper. Imagine this last metaphor, a bow and arrow. Pulling back is not retreat, it's how you create power. The pause is the tension, the release is the impact. That's your vibe. Move with intention, speak with weight, smile because you choose to, not because you're begging to be liked. When you do, you'll notice something beautiful. People start measuring others by you. So here's the promise of today. We'll build the one feeling they never forget. Not flattery, not performance, presence. If that hits, drop a quick comment with your affirmation so it sticks. Type, I am unforgettable. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because this is the moment you stop chasing attention and start commanding it. Number 1, they love to feel intrigued. Tell them everything at once, and you've told them nothing at all. That's the quote I want you to sit with, my friends, because it's the truth that most people ignore. They think attraction is built by flooding the other person with access, every thought, every feeling, every detail poured out like an open faucet. But what happens to water when it runs without pause? It loses its force, it turns into background noise. And that's what so many of you have unknowingly become, background noise in someone else's story. Picture this with me. Imagine you're watching a movie and in the very first 5 minutes, the ending flashes on the screen. Do you keep watching? Do you lean forward in your seat? No, you already know the outcome. There's no curiosity left, no suspense, no reason to stay engaged. Folks, that's what happens when you overshare, when you over-explain, when you try to give someone your whole life story before they've even earned the right to hear it. You rob them of the one thing that keeps people hooked: mystery. And mystery is not about being manipulative, it's about pacing the reveal. Now, let's ask the question that's haunting many of you. But what if I hold back and they think I don't care? What if my silence pushes them away? That's the fear, isn't it? That if you don't perform, if you don't explain, if you don't constantly update them with every detail, you'll lose them. But here's the lie. You don't lose people by holding weight. You lose them by giving it all away too soon. Because when there's nothing left to discover, there's nothing left to stay for. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are soaked in fear of loss, you'll act like a man afraid, and fear is never attractive. But if your thoughts are grounded in restraint, patience, and value, you'll become the kind of man who leaves a trail of curiosity behind him. Think of it like this: you are a novel, not a brochure. A brochure is skimmed in minutes and tossed aside. A novel, one with layers, one that reveals itself page by page, is impossible to forget. Each chapter leaves the reader craving the next. That's the energy you need to carry into your presence. Don't throw the ending at them. Don't explain every pause. Let them lean in. Let them work for the pages. That's not coldness. It's depth. And yes, my friends, it will feel difficult at first, because you've been trained the opposite way. Society tells you, be open, be transparent, tell them everything right away. But transparency without timing is not intimacy. It's exposure. It's taking your most valuable truths and scattering them like loose change. Do you respect coins you find on the street? Or do you respect the treasure you had to dig for, earn and protect? That's how attraction works too. I know what you're thinking, but won't holding back make them think I'm hiding something? Only if you're withholding out of fear. But when you hold back out of strength, it feels different. It feels intentional. It says, I am worth discovering. I am not cheap access. I am a man with layers. And let me tell you, when you give people the gift of curiosity, when you let them taste the suspense of wondering what's beneath your calm, you become unforgettable. Now, let's get real. How many times have you felt that shift in energy? You met someone you thought opening up fast would build closeness, so you poured yourself out like an open diary. At first, they smiled, nodded, maybe even seemed interested. But slowly, they drifted. They replied less. Their energy cooled. And you sat there asking, what did I do wrong? The answer is, you gave them the ending before they finished the first chapter. You robbed them of the one thing that keeps desire alive, imagination. Because when imagination dies, attraction dies. And that's the lie we're breaking right here, right now. So how do you rise from that fear? You practice restraint. You let silence sit without panic. You let them ask questions without rushing to explain. When they say, what are you thinking? You don't dump your whole heart on the table. You give them one line that feels like a key. There's more, but not everything is ready for words yet. That's not hiding. It's creating space for discovery. It's saying, if you want to know me, you'll have to stay. And my friends, nothing is more magnetic than that. Let me leave you with this. Intrigue isn't about tricks. It's not about withholding to play games. It's about living with enough self-respect that you don't treat your depth like free samples. It's about being calm before the storm, and the storm no one expected. The man whose silence speaks louder than the crowd, the man whose presence demands curiosity, the man they can't fully figure out. And that's exactly why they can't forget him. So here's what I want you to do. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am a novel, not a brochure. Write it, show it, remind yourself of it, and let the world see that you're done giving away your ending for free. Stay with me, because what's coming next will shake the way you see attraction forever. Number 2, they love to feel challenged. Respect is never given to the man who bends. It is given to the man who stands. Let that settle for a moment, my friends, because this is where most men lose the game without even realizing it. They confuse attraction with approval. They think the fastest way into someone's heart is to agree with everything, to nod along, to say yes when their soul is screaming no. But what does agreement without conviction create? Convenience. And convenience is forgettable. Picture this, a tree in the middle of a storm. The winds crash, the rain pours, and every branch is tested. But the tree doesn't bow to every gust of wind. It bends only where it must, and it stands rooted where it matters most. That's why people seek shelter beneath it. That's why it earns respect. Now think of yourself. Are you that tree, or are you the leaf, tossed by every wind, changing direction just to avoid tension? Leaves don't inspire trust. Trees do. Here's the fear many of you carry. If I disagree, won't I upset them? If I stand my ground, won't they leave? That fear is exactly why you fold, why you soften your truth until it disappears, why you laugh at jokes that don't land, why you cancel your plans just to be available. And what happens then? Instead of drawing someone closer, you quietly teach them that your presence holds no weight. You become predictable. You become easy. You become replaceable. As Seneca once said, he who seeks approval always condemns himself. That's the lie we're breaking right here. Approval doesn't build attraction. Conviction does. People don't crave someone who agrees with everything. They crave someone who won't collapse under pressure, who can disagree without hostility, who can say, "This is who I am," and mean it, not with arrogance, with calm, with stillness, with edge. Let me give you a real-world picture. Imagine two men sitting across from the same woman. The first man nods at everything she says, eager to impress. He's agreeable, he's sweet, and he disappears from her mind the moment she leaves the room. The second man, he listens deeply, but when he disagrees, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't argue, but he doesn't fold. He smiles and says calmly, "I see it differently." That simple act, without raising his voice, without defensiveness, creates an entirely different energy. She feels it. She leans in. Not because he was rude, but because he was real. You see, challenges don't push people away. It pulls them closer. Why? Because conviction is rare. Most men chase harmony at the cost of their own truth. They mistake peacekeeping for strength. But peacekeeping rooted in fear is not strength. It's weakness with a polite mask. And people, especially women, feel it. They feel when your yes means maybe. They feel when your boundaries are made of glass. And nothing is more forgettable than a man who can't hold his own line. So let me ask you folks, when was the last time you betrayed yourself just to keep someone happy? When did you say sure when you wanted to say no? When did you cancel your workout, your plans, your purpose, just to answer a late-night text that meant nothing? Those are the moments your power leaked. And those leaks add up until you're drained, invisible, and wondering why they lost interest. The truth? They didn't lose interest. You lost your edge. But here's the shift. When you stop bending for approval, you start commanding respect. Not by shouting, not by being rigid, but by being consistent, by being clear, by being the man whose word is steady, the man whose schedule is respected because he respects it himself, the man whose no carries more weight than another man's desperate yes. That's the kind of presence that makes people pause. That's the kind of presence that makes them wonder, what is it about him? Let's anchor this with a metaphor. Think of fire. Fire doesn't beg to be seen. Fire doesn't ask for approval. Fire simply burns. And when storms hit, when winds blow, fire bends with the air but doesn't lose its flame. That's you, when you hold your conviction without apology. That's why people gather around it, not because it flatters them, but because it commands respect. And yes, folks, it's hard. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll feel the pull to explain yourself, to smooth the edges, to make sure everyone likes you. But as Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. People may resist your boundaries at first. They may test your patience. But if your boundaries are real, if your calm doesn't flinch, eventually something shifts. They stop testing. They start trusting. Because what's rooted cannot be shaken. So here's where I leave you with motivation. You don't need to chase approval. You don't need to fold your truth into someone else's comfort. You don't need to explain your worth. You only need to stand calmly, quietly, without apology. And when you do, you'll notice something remarkable. People stop asking if you're enough. They start asking if they are. And that shift changes everything. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I stand unshaken. Write it. Show it. Prove to yourself and to the world around you that you're done bending for approval, and stay with me, because the next secret we unlock will show you how to use uncertainty, not as a weakness, but as a force that keeps them coming back again and again. Number 3, they love to feel uncertain. Certainty is comfortable, but comfort is where attraction goes to die. Sit with that for a second, my friends, because if intrigue is the spark, then uncertainty is the oxygen that keeps the flame alive. The moment they feel like they've got you all figured out, the story ends. And what do people do when the story ends? They put the book down. That's why the most unforgettable men aren't the ones who pour out their souls on the first date, or text paragraphs at midnight, or make themselves available on command. They're the ones who create suspense, not chaos, not games, but a quiet, intentional suspense that leaves people leaning forward, wondering, what's next? Picture this. You're watching a show, and every twist is obvious. Every character is predictable. Every episode feels the same. Do you keep watching? Of course not. But imagine a show where you can't quite guess what will happen next. Where the character has layers that unfold slowly, where every scene leaves you with questions, with curiosity, with tension. That's the show you binge, that's the one you remember. Now ask yourself, are you living like the predictable rerun or like the story no one can put down? Here's the fear whispering in your mind. But if I don't explain everything, if I don't make them feel secure, won't they leave? That fear is what makes you overgive. It's what makes you text too fast, reveal too much, try too hard. But let me break this lie for you. People don't fall for clarity, they fall for curiosity. If they know your every move, there's nothing left to chase. But if there's always a little space, always a little mystery, their mind starts working. They replay your words, they reread your texts, they ask their friends, what do you think he meant by this? That's not by accident. That's uncertainty doing the work for you. And let me be clear, folks, uncertainty isn't neglect. It's not ghosting. It's not disappearing. That's immaturity, not mastery. Real uncertainty is crafted through patience. It's in the pause before you reply, the way you hold your silence like it means something, the way you don't rush to explain every move you make. You're not avoiding, you're allowing space for imagination to live. And imagination, my friends, is where attraction grows. Think back to the times when someone pulled away from you. Didn't it usually happen right after you gave too much too soon? You thought that dumping your whole story, your scars, your fears, would make them feel closer. But what really happened? The mystery vanished, the suspense died, and with it so did the attraction. Because vulnerability without timing doesn't deepen connection, it kills it. People don't want everything at once, they want the unfold. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of a bow and arrow. If you release too soon, there's no power. The arrow falls flat. But if you pull back, if you hold the tension, when you release, it lands with force. That's how you should live. Your words, your energy, your attention should be released with weight, not scattered without thought. That weight only comes through restraint. Epictetus once said, "If you want to be invincible, hold nothing that is not your own." That includes your presence. That includes your attention. Don't hand it over like it costs nothing. Let them feel that it means something, that it's intentional, that it's earned. Because when your attention isn't predictable, it becomes priceless. And yes, my friends, this is difficult because we live in a world addicted to instant gratification. We want replies in seconds, stories in full, access without effort. But anything gained too easily is forgotten just as quickly. You know this. Think about the last time you wanted something badly, something you had to wait for, something you had to earn. Didn't it hit differently when you finally got it? Didn't you value it more? That's how the human mind works. That's how attraction works. So here's the truth. Your unpredictability is not a weakness. It's your edge. When they don't know your every move, they have to pay attention. When they can't predict your rhythm, they have to lean in. And that leaning in, that curiosity, is the seed of obsession. Not because you're playing games, but because you're alive, because you're evolving, because you're not a script, you're a story unfolding in real time. Now let me motivate you before we close. You don't need to explain yourself into someone's heart. You don't need to make yourself predictable just to feel safe. You need to trust that your mystery is not a liability. It's a gift. Because people don't fall in love with what they fully understand. They fall in love with the feeling that there's always more to discover. So here's your affirmation for today. Drop it in the comments and let the world see it. I am the story that unfolds. Write it, show it, own it. Because once you start living like that, you'll never again be the forgettable rerun. You'll be the story that lingers, the one they can't stop replaying, the one they'll never forget. And stay with me, because next, we're going to unlock the power of earned reward and why giving too much too easily is the fastest way to lose everything you've worked for. Number 4, they love the feeling of earned reward. People don't value what is given freely. They value what is earned. My friends, if there's one truth you need to tattoo onto your mind, it's this one. Because this is where so many fall short. They think the more they give, the more they'll be remembered. They think consistency means flooding someone with attention, with validation, with constant effort. But ask yourself, if you hand over gold on the street, does anyone treat it like treasure? Number. They pocket it, maybe smile, and forget. But if they had to climb the mountain, bleed on the rocks, and work for that same gold, it would never leave their hands. That's the difference between convenience and value. Imagine this picture with me, folks. A man texts, "Good morning," every day without fail. At first it feels sweet, but over time it feels like routine, like background noise. The words don't land anymore. They blend into the white noise of the day. Now picture another man who sends fewer words, but when he speaks, it's deliberate. When he compliments, it's rare. And because it's rare, it feels earned. It lands with weight. One, "I'm proud of you" from him feels like 10 from the man who gives them away daily. That's not arrogance. It's value. That's not withholding. It's wisdom. Now here's the fear in your mind. But what if I stop giving so much and they think I don't care? That fear is exactly why you overextend yourself. But here's the lie. You don't lose people by giving less. You lose them by giving too much, too easily, too soon. Because what is always available is rarely respected. The truth is, folks, your attention is like currency. The more you spend it without thought, the less it's worth. But when you guard it, when you require something in return, effort, consistency, respect, it becomes priceless. Think of it like a gym membership. If someone hands you free access with no rules, no sweat required, you might show up a few times, then quit. But if you pay with your money, your time, your energy, every workout matters more. You value it because you've invested. Attraction works the same way. If they don't have to invest in you, they won't value you. But if they have to rise to meet you, if they have to show consistency to earn your energy, your time, your praise, then every moment with you feels like a victory. Let's bring in a little fun metaphor. Imagine you're an amusement park. If every ride is free, people hop on carelessly. They don't think twice. But if there's a ticket price, if they've had to stand in line, if they've had to wait, suddenly the ride feels different. Suddenly it has meaning. That's you. You are the ride worth waiting for, not the free carnival toy handed out at the gate. And yes, folks, this is hard because you've been conditioned to think love equals giving without boundaries. That kindness means never requiring effort. But kindness without standards isn't love, it's charity. And charity doesn't inspire obsession. It inspires guilt at best, apathy at worst. What inspires obsession is reward. The feeling of, I earned this man's attention, I earned his time, I earned his respect. That's what makes people rise, what makes them protect what they've gained. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." The same is true of what you allow. If you allow your presence to be free, you echo forgettable. If you require it to be earned, you echo unforgettable. And here's the beauty of it. When you live this way, you don't have to raise your voice or explain yourself. The standard speaks for you. The scarcity of your validation speaks for you. Your boundaries speak for you. Now let's turn the mirror on you. How many times have you betrayed your standard just to keep someone close? How many times have you cancelled your plans, abandoned your routine, replied to messages you didn't respect, all because you were afraid of losing them? And what happened? Did they value you more, or did they drift further? Be honest, that's the proof. Availability doesn't create attraction, scarcity and reward do. But here's the good news, it's never too late to shift. The moment you start living with higher standards, the moment you stop handing yourself out like free samples, people feel the difference. They notice the shift. Suddenly, your attention feels heavier, your compliments feel rarer, your time feels sacred. And that, my friends, is when they stop coasting and start chasing. Not because you played games, but because you became a man of value. So let me leave you with this motivation. You don't need to be the man who gives endlessly to be loved. You need to be the man who makes others rise to meet him. You need to be the man who knows his presence is a reward, not a charity, because people never forget the reward they worked hardest for. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am the reward. Write it, show it, own it. Because once you live like this, you'll never again be the man they forget. You'll be the one they protect, the one they measure others by, the one they'll fight to keep. And stay with me, because next, we're going to unlock something deeper, the power of silence, and why saying less will always mean more. Number 5. They love the power of silence. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu said that centuries ago, and yet here we are, still afraid of the quiet. My friends, most people think silence is weakness. They think if they don't fill every pause with words, if they don't keep talking, keep explaining, keep performing, they'll lose attention. But here's the truth. They don't realize silence isn't emptiness. Silence is presence. Silence is gravity. Silence is where attraction breathes. Picture this: a crowded room, voices overlapping, laughter spilling over, noise everywhere. In walks a man who doesn't rush to speak. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't perform. He simply stands, calm and still. And yet somehow people notice. Their eyes shift. Their attention drifts toward him. Why? Because in a world addicted to noise, stillness is rare, and rare is magnetic. Folks, silence isn't the absence of power, it is the amplifier of it. Now, let me ask you, how many times have you ruined your own presence by over-explaining? How many times have you panicked in the pause and said something you didn't mean just to fill the air? How many times did you talk yourself out of attraction by trying too hard? That's the lie you were taught, that words are the only currency of connection. But the deepest moments between people don't happen in chatter. They happen in pauses, in the held gaze, in the calm after a storm, in the stillness that forces the other person to lean in. And here's the fear whispering to you. If I stay quiet, won't they think I'm boring? Won't they think I don't care? That fear is exactly why you spill too much. But let me break the lie. Silence doesn't mean disinterest. It means depth. It says, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to live in my presence. If you want access, lean closer. Silence invites. Noise repels. Think of it like music. A song without pauses is just chaos. The rests, the silence between the notes, that's what creates rhythm. That's what makes the music memorable. Your presence works the same way. If you keep talking, keep explaining, keep filling every gap, you become noise. But if you can sit in silence, calm, steady, present, you become the rhythm. You become the memory. Let's get real for a second. Why is this so hard? Because silence exposes insecurity. Most men can't handle it. They squirm, they fidget, they reach for their phone, they break the moment with nervous words. But the man who can sit in silence without fear, who can hold his stillness like a crown, that's the man who's unforgettable. That's the man people replay in their mind, because they felt something in his quiet that they didn't feel in another's noise. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Your silence is proof of that calm mind. It shows you're not desperate to be liked, not afraid of space, not shaken by pauses. You don't need to force attention. You embody it, and that embodiment makes you stand out without trying. Here's a little story. I once knew a man who could sit at a table and barely speak. At first, people thought he was distant, but as time went on, they leaned in. They asked him questions. They sought his opinion. And when he did speak, even if it was a single sentence, it carried weight. Why? Because he didn't hand it out like candy. His words were chosen. His silence gave his voice its power. That's what you need to practice, not endless talking, but strategic silence. So let me motivate you now. Stop fearing silence. Stop running from it. Start owning it, because silence is not the end of connection. It's the doorway into depth. When you master it, you won't need to demand attention. You'll command it without saying a word. You'll become calm in the storm, the rare presence that makes others wonder, what's going on inside him? And that wondering, that curiosity, that's what keeps you unforgettable. Here's your affirmation for today. Drop it in the comments and let the world see you claim it. My silence has power. Write it, show it, own it. Because once you learn to carry your silence like a crown, you'll never again chase to be heard. You'll be the man whose quiet presence speaks louder than noise. And stay with me, because next we're going to dive into the law of scarcity and why being everywhere for everyone is the fastest way to become invisible. Number 6. They love the scarcity principle. Anything that is everywhere is valued nowhere. That line alone should shake you, my friends, because this is the lie most men have swallowed whole, the belief that being available all the time will make them irresistible. They think that the more they show up, the more they'll be remembered. But the truth is the opposite. What's always available becomes ordinary. What's rare becomes unforgettable. Scarcity isn't about manipulation. It's about respect. Respect for your time, your presence, your energy. Picture this. You walk past a fountain in the middle of a park. It's always there, flowing, constant, predictable. People glance at it, maybe throw a coin, but they forget it as soon as they leave. Now picture a waterfall hidden deep inside the mountains. Not everyone has seen it. Not everyone knows how to get there. But those who do, they'll never forget the sight. That's the difference between abundance without value and scarcity with meaning. Which one are you living like? The fountain everyone ignores, or the waterfall that leaves people breathless? Here's the fear in your mind. But if I don't reply right away, if I don't say yes to every plan, if I don't make myself available, won't they think I don't care? That's the conditioning, isn't it? You've been told that love equals constant presence, that loyalty equals abandoning yourself. But here's the lie. We don't respect what doesn't cost us effort. If they can have you anytime, anywhere, with no price to pay, your presence feels cheap. But if your attention requires intention, if your time is reserved for those who earn it, suddenly every interaction carries weight. Think of diamonds. What makes them valuable? Not their sparkle alone, but their scarcity. You can find glass that sparkles everywhere, but diamonds, rare, difficult to reach, forged under pressure, command loyalty. That's you when you live with standards, when you stop scattering yourself across anyone who asks for a piece of you. Your scarcity makes you valuable. Your selectiveness makes you unforgettable. And yes, folks, this is hard, because we've been trained to equate love with sacrifice. You've been told to always be there, to never say no, to pour yourself out without limit. But let me break that for you. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's self-abandonment, and self-abandonment breeds resentment, not attraction. The man who is everywhere, who says yes to everyone, ends up remembered by no one. But the man who knows his worth, who protects his time, who makes his presence rare, that man becomes the one they measure others against. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you value yourself at cheap price, do not complain if others treat you cheaply." Scarcity is how you prove your value, not through arrogance, through clarity, through discipline, through living a life so full of purpose that your time cannot be handed away freely. You're not avoiding people. You're teaching them how to treat you. Think back to your own life. How many times did you cancel your plans for someone else? How many times did you drop everything only to be met with half-hearted energy in return? Did it make them value you more, or did it make them take you for granted? Be honest. You weren't forgotten because you cared too little. You were forgotten because you gave too much. Because what's always available becomes invisible. Now imagine the shift. Imagine living with standards so strong that your yes carries meaning. That when you give someone your attention, they know it's not casual, it's chosen. Imagine being the man whose schedule is respected, whose presence feels like a privilege, not an entitlement. That's scarcity, that's power. Not because you're withholding, but because you know your worth. And here's the beauty. When people feel they have to earn you, they rise. They become more thoughtful, more intentional. They lean in harder because they realize they can't just coast. Your scarcity forces growth. It makes them protect what they've earned. It makes them cherish every moment with you. Because deep down, we all treasure what's rare. So here's your motivation. Stop being everywhere. Stop scattering your energy. Stop making yourself cheap in the name of being liked. Live with purpose. Guard your time. Make your presence scarce enough to be remembered, but powerful enough to be felt. That's how you become unforgettable. Here's your affirmation, and I want you to drop it in the comments right now. My presence is rare. Write it, show it. Remind yourself and the world that you're done being the fountain everyone ignores. You are the hidden waterfall, the one they'll never forget. And stay with me, because next we're unlocking the mirror effect, the silent force that makes them see themselves differently through you, and why that reflection can turn attraction into obsession. Number 7. They love the emotional mirror effect. People don't see you as you are. They see themselves reflected back through you. My friends, this truth is one of the deepest in attraction, and it's the one most men never learn, because they think attraction is about chasing, about convincing, about proving, but the reality, attraction is born when your energy acts like a mirror, when they look at you and begin to see a version of themselves they didn't know existed. Picture this. You walk into a room, calm, centered, not begging for attention, not chasing laughs, not bending to fit in. And suddenly, the people around you feel different. Their chaos feels louder against your silence. Their insecurity feels smaller next to your groundedness. And without you saying a word, they begin to lean in. Why? Because your stillness reflects their storm. Your composure exposes their noise, and deep down they crave what you carry. But here's the fear whispering in your head. If I don't try, if I don't push, if I don't sell myself, won't I be ignored? That fear is exactly why you've been overlooked. Because chasing doesn't inspire attraction. It suffocates it. People don't fall for those who try to convince. They fall for those who carry a standard, a presence, a weight that makes others question themselves. That questioning, that silent reflection, is the spark of obsession. Think of a mirror in the sunlight. It doesn't shine on its own. It reflects what's already there, but in a way that makes it clearer, brighter, undeniable. That's you when you live aligned, when your energy doesn't shift for approval. You don't have to tell anyone to grow. Your presence makes them want to. You don't have to demand respect. Your boundaries reveal who is capable of giving it. Now, let me break a lie you've been told. You've been taught that to be unforgettable, you must impress. Dress louder, talk faster, perform harder. But here's the truth. You don't become unforgettable by performing. You become unforgettable by reflecting, by being the calm that makes them realize how frantic they've been, by being the standard that makes them question the mediocrity they've accepted, by being the mirror that forces them to ask, am I enough for someone like this? That's not arrogance. That's leadership. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And that's exactly what this mirror effect is. You don't argue. You don't explain. You don't beg. You embody. And in that embodiment, you show others who they are and who they could be. And when someone starts associating you with their own growth, their own self-discovery, their own better self, that bond becomes unshakable. But let's be real, this is not easy, because being a mirror means holding your ground when tested. It means staying calm when they try to trigger you. It means not lowering your standard just to make them comfortable. And many of you have done the opposite. You laughed when you didn't want to. You agreed when your gut said no. You softened your edge just to avoid conflict. And what happened? You didn't inspire trust. You didn't inspire attraction. You inspired forgetfulness, because you became like everyone else, just another shadow, not the mirror that reveals. So here's the shift. Start being the reflection that challenges them. When they bring chaos, you stay calm. When they test your patience, you don't react, you respond. When they try to pull you off your path, you keep walking steady. And in doing that, you don't just show them who you are. You show them who they are in your presence. That's what changes everything. That's what makes them feel safe, yet challenged, grounded, yet intrigued. That's what makes them realize, being around this person makes me better, and that realization is unforgettable. Let me give you one last metaphor. A candle can light another candle, but a mirror can reflect the entire fire. You, my friends, are that mirror. You don't burn yourself out trying to light others. You reflect strength in a way that multiplies it. You show them not just light, but their own reflection in it. And once someone sees themselves differently through you, they will never forget you. So here's your motivation. Stop chasing. Stop trying to impress. Start being the reflection. Start carrying your silence, your presence, your boundaries like the crown they are. Let your energy do the speaking. Because the man who becomes the mirror isn't just remembered. He's the one they measure everyone else against. And now, here's what I want you to do. If this spoke to you, if something in your chest just clicked, don't keep it inside. Drop a comment right now with this affirmation. I am the mirror. Write it, show it, prove it. And while you're here, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with a brother who needs to wake up to his own reflection. Because what we're building here isn't just knowledge, it's a movement of men who are done chasing, done bending, and ready to rise into the kind of presence no one can forget.